All right. So I'm Brian here with Brandon, Marc, Greg. I want to just give the league an overview of what we're doing. We are trying to do weekly episodes, at least once the season starts. This will be our kickoff episode. And just kind of recap how the week went. This one's going to be a recap of how the draft went. And then we'll look forward to the following week. We're hoping to get guests on. We have a couple locked up already. So if you guys want to do this, just reach out to one of us and we'll get you on. Maybe have rivalry weeks where we have two people that are playing each other on. Just something to kind of get the interaction of the league. Maybe some trash talk going, things like that. Nothing crazy, but just something I want to post here on the Facebook group. We can all, enjoy it, watch it. Use technology the right way, because before we used to type it out and read it and all that. Now you can just do it on video and watch it. So a little more seamless, I guess. So yeah, here for week one, we're going to talk about the our fantasy dynasty draft recap. So who wants to go ahead and start?
I'll go ahead and start. I got a question for you.
All right.
Brian. What was your draft strategy going into drafting? Were you trying to compete this year?
Mine was
most teams have a mix.
Mine was mainly young, but not so young that I'm gonna be hot garbage necessarily, if you get what I'm saying. So young with the eyes of competing, but knowing I probably haven't set my team up to necessarily win the entire chip this year. But also, I might not be over, because I just went young, talented. I went young people that could start right away for the most part.
Yeah,
I think some vets, but that's also for, potential trades down the road as well. That might be something I do is, I have Derek Carr, who's older. If someone needs a quarterback or something, I have 3 or 4 quarterbacks. So.
And then I guess I got the same question for Marc and Greg.
I'm not even gonna lie. I really didn't even have a strategy because this was my first year. So just trying to get the bearings of it. Who I thought was, rookie wise, I could
just out of you got a pretty young team. You got a pretty young team.
I don't want to take too many vets, but I was just I'm not gonna lie, just kind of trying to wing it how I would normally draft. I've never drafted defensive players before this year, so that was the first time that I did that.
What did you have? 12?
What was it? I had pick 12, 12 yeah. Pick. So that kind of threw me off, but just trying to figure out the defensive wise really threw me off. I was kind of just guessing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a tendency to try to win now, but also try to remember to get some young players. I've obviously done Dynasty before with Brian, but my focus was try to stack up offensive players as much as I can first, especially running back. But then you get to the point where I don't know. There's times where I went with defense just to try to stack up some on the defensive side. It does get tricky, Marc, like you were saying. I've done Dynasty, and I at times forget what the value of a defensive player is. And then I kind of try to remember it's kind of like a kicker. But so my main strategy is I kind of want to go for young. I want to go for youth, but youth that can win now. That's more what I do. It was interesting. The first year is always interesting, especially 33 rounds, right? You get to the late rounds and you may not even heard of these people, or maybe you feel like you're reaching or not reaching, and it gets tricky, especially for someone like me. I don't follow college football like you guys do. I'm more of a pro guy. It's kind of have to take a chance on some of these guys and hope that they are the next, whomever that you find in the 5th or 6th round in the real draft.
Yeah. So my big shock was, and I get for the IDP it being difficult, but there were so many defensive players taken. And one thing Andy pointed out when I was talking to him, he's the Bijan team for everybody that doesn't know. He pointed out, he's like, I guess linebacker is worth more than I even realized. I thought when I went through and edited it, the defensive players were worth more like kickers. But I will give you linebacker is they can actually probably make a difference in this league. And I guess it's because they didn't have how you set it up was different than the other league I'm in. So it was
Yeah.
hard to make it equal to that. But other than that, like I still was shocked, like, because I get having like a backup for each position. But I mean, I've seen up to like, I think I counted 11 or 12 like linebackers on the team. Like, I mean, we start one. I don't know.
That's a
You're gonna
lot of
have
linebackers.
shit luck of injuries to get to your 11th linebacker. And I don't know what you're like, and I get it that maybe they
I
screwed
was one of those people that didn't know linebacker meant anything.
Yeah, like I don't know, just a lot of defense in general too. It shocked me because I was like, I end up taking like I don't know if I think I have none on the bench, like defensive wise. And I'm not saying that's a smart strategy, but like I would rather load up on young running backs, receivers, like
Right.
Use them as lottery tickets. Was what I was doing, not. It kind of threw me off because I probably was going to pick earlier a defensive player, but since so many were coming off the board, I was like, well, there's value in other positions, at least in my head. So I'm going to go to the other positions, and take that route. But that was my big highlight overall.
That makes sense. And like you said, you're probably at the opposite extreme where you only cover the minimum. Probably really the best route to go is somewhere in between, but closer to your end, because 11 linebackers is insane to me.
Yeah.
I think what I ended up doing was having 3 of each defensive player.
Which is about right, Now, one thing I wish I could have done when I set it up, I will say, and if they ever change the format, I'll let people know. But so you couldn't do like cornerback and safety; you could just do DB. And the other league we're in, we can do cornerback, safety, linebacker, defensive end, and defensive tackle. So you had more defense. So also that was kind of part of it because I seen a lot of big name cornerbacks getting taken, which I understand because of the big name. But honestly, safeties are going to get you an ass ton more points than cornerbacks generally because it's really about tackles more than anything to really get the points. Now, of course, if you get a pick 6, that's going to boost you for that game. But even the best corner is not going to get, a shit ton of pick 6s because they're not going to get targeted a lot. So it's going to, to me, it's going to kind of take their tackles away also. And I'm not saying not to take like Sauce or someone like a top, or Woolen from Seattle, but I think in the league where you can only start a DB, I kind of erred for the side of safety because they're going to generally tackle more.
I'm sorry.
I have 4 corners, and my thought was if I can get 4 in high value wise, I could maybe use it as a trade piece if someone really needs a corner. Someone can get it because I have 4 of the top corners in the league.
Yeah.
To opinion.
And I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. It's just
that's the way I was thinking of it because I had no idea what I could have. Obviously, I could have looked at stats and see what they could have did in X, Y, and Z. But I was more thinking of it as a trade piece down the line. If someone really needs a corner, or if I'm struggling and I'm looking at their matchups, swapping out the corner to put in so they get me more points.
Yeah. And honestly, like looking at your team, like you don't have a bad team. You have pretty good depth everywhere, which is a lot of it too. I think it was, I want to say Nick's team. He started off, I ended up texting him because I was like, dude, you got to have like backup running backs because you only had, at one point he only had 2 and he was taking defense. I'm like, well, what happens when one running back goes down and one's on a bye week and then you don't have any more, you don't have any more. Because I wasn't leaving any in the waivers. There was going to be no free agents. I was going to take every running back. So, you think my prices are high on my players now. Wait till you don't have one. Wait till you need to start someone and you come to me because I have 30 of them. So
maybe
I'm going to rob you blind on some bullshit, and I'll tell you that right now. But
maybe that's what the team that had all the linebackers was thinking. They chose the wrong position, but they're thinking maybe I can stock up on linebackers for a trade base.
And honestly, I mean, after Andy pointed out what their scoring is, I could be a little off on linebacker, so I might end up needing one. But, the other defensive positions, I kind of looked at more like a kicker, Plus, to me, also, like with linebacker, I guess not to be on it too long, there's more of them because, there's 2 to 3 on the field at a time, depending, where kicker, for example, there's 1 per team. So, but that was my only for me. Do you have any teams that you're high on? Anyone that wants a high or low?
Before I just want to say one last thing about the defense, and then I can put that to bed. I just want to reiterate what you're saying, Brian. I do feel like linebacker and even defensive line can get you the more points on the defensive side of the ball because of tackles and sacks.
Yeah.
So that's all. I just wanted to throw that in real quick. But
No, yeah, you're good.
I didn't really realize that this being my first year, but I seen it like during the projected points. I'm like, how's this guy projected this? But here's 150 or whatever. I try to make sure I got somebody.
Yeah. But also, like I said, I'm not going for a compete now as much either. So, but when I look at teams that I'm high on, I think Fred for having the last pick, like a 14th pick too, because I'm not used to doing a 14-man team or 14-man league.
yeah,
Most I've ever done is 12, really. So for him to have that, I think he picked really freaking well. He got a lot of guys I wanted, and I think him having that back-to-back picks helped him a lot. So I think he's really going to compete immediately and probably long term because he's got some young guys too. What's that, Brandon?
I actually had Fred on my bad list.
On your bad list? Oh, well, tell me why then.
Hey, Deshaun question mark. I'm not trying to. At this point in the season, there's a lot of question marks. So don't get me wrong, but I like the Bruce Hall pick. But other than that, I'm like, DeAndre Hopkins, Decline, Brown. Not the youngest, but not the oldest. Middle, 25, same 6, 27, coming back, maybe 2 more years. I mean, as this, I'm looking at it like first man, and I see him competing for like maybe 3 years. Just in my own opinion.
Yeah. See, I was high on his later picks like Abanikanda, great handcuff to Brees Hall. Eric Gray has potential when it's, because even Saquon's dominating this year. At some point, he's leaving. And at the time, also, they were still talking about him holding out.
I thought about getting Gray myself. So.
Yeah. And then Deneric Prince, he might be another nice little one-hit wonder for KC's backfield. He might not be someone that's long-term, but...
Yeah, no, I get it. There's a lot of
But yeah, no, I was just high on his team, and I think he got, Deshaun pretty good late. He kind of went early on Bryce to me, but the way quarterbacks were going, that was another thing that was kind of wild to me, how quickly quarterbacks went, which I expected with this league because I know the people, but like in every one of my mocks, there was never this many quarterbacks that went this early. Like in every mock I did, and there was always like I was getting solid starting quarterbacks in like the 4th or 5th round, that were going in the 1st and 2nd here. So that was also one of my.
Well, I wanted to point that out. I did a 10-man last night on the same app, and I did 20 mocks, and Joe Burrow went in the 4th round in each. But in every draft that I'm doing with everybody here, it's like he's 2nd or 3rd pick. So it's like,
yeah. So I was going to ask what you thought about Joe Burrow being the number 1 overall pick. I'm sure you're not surprised because again, the people that's in the league. But what do you think about Joe Burrow going number 1 overall?
I mean, for me, that's not who I would have picked first overall.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have went Bijan. There's, if I had a chance to take Bijan, I would have took Bijan. Just because running backs, young running backs are so valuable. Quarterbacks are a little more valuable in this league than like my other one because my other one is 4 points for a touchdown passed, and this one is 6. So that does bring it up a little bit. And I get being a homer, so but I seen it coming. For a little bit, I thought he might take Jamar though. Also,
yeah,
because receivers are, if you're looking at basically Jefferson, Jamar's are on their own level, and then you have the rest.
I thought Justin Jefferson was going to be the first.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if I was number 1, that's who I would have taken.
So do you think that, or like for real think that, or do you think that if it wasn't like homers, I guess, if you want to say it, like I guess what I'm trying to say is like I'm not surprised if Bengal went first, right? Because of I know he's in the league. But so Mark, did you think Justin Jefferson, even knowing who has the number 1 pick?
No, I kind of, I mean, knowing who had the number one pick, with John having pick, I figured it was going to be a Bengal. But like, if we took us being Bengal fans out of the question, and if
Okay.
I'm looking at value for a position, I need a star player. Not saying that Joe Burrow is not a star player because we all know he is.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm taking a wide receiver because I take more value in a young wide receiver and a star wide receiver because I don't necessarily think they come that often, especially of the value of the tier of Chase, Hill, or Jefferson in that tier. If maybe a running back, like a young running back like Bijan, but in my mind, I'm taking a top tier wide receiver in that level for my number one pick.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Mark. I would have went. I mean, my top three were Jefferson, Chase, Bijan. My only personal reason going Bijan was because running back's not as deep, especially young. That's my only. Otherwise, I would have taken that. Honestly, I would have taken Gibbs in the first, but I kind of had a feeling he might come back around to me in the second. So I rolled the dice and kind of won that one because I almost took him. Like before I took Chase. So, but it was hard when Jefferson and Chase were still sitting there at my pick. I'm like, well, I got to take one of them.
Yeah.
They both should have been gone by now. So
Right.
That makes it difficult when you have to make a decision like that. When it goes against what you thought was going to happen, and you're like, oh, I have to pick, and I have to decide. I remember being in our other Dynasty League a few years ago. All along, I was expecting that I was probably going to draft so-and-so, and then the draft didn't go the way we expected, and I had to make a decision.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But it's hard. Now, my personal – Brandon, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying my whole draft like that. I didn't get anybody I wanted. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you were stuck in that odd spot. Hard to get your players. You did take a lot of trash SEC guys for some reason.
Oh, wow.
Marc took all my Ohio State players.
Yeah, for being an SEC guy, he took the whole Big Ten.
Hey,
So,
I figured
we'll remember that for college.
I figured you would want one of them. So I'm stowing them away, Brian.
I want all of them.
If we get Nick as a guest, can we have the whole SEC Big Ten argument again?
Oh, we for sure can.
And I will say the shock of the draft for me was when M-Dot took the Ohio State player, when he took Jackson Smith. Now, I know Mark traded for him ultimately, and that was, I think, M-Dot's goal. But in the moment, I was like, he's taking a Buckeye? What the fuck is he doing?
He's probably hoping you were going to come and get him.
I tried, actually. You did get him from me. I wasn't going to offer what you did. I offered a little bit less because I was your bidding opponent, I guess.
Fair.
So I don't know if he told you about a bidding opponent, but he said, there's another guy. I would have been your other guy.
Yeah.
Just so you know. So,
but I got a team that I'm high on.
All right, brother.
Other than Fred, I thought Nick had a really good draft. I think he got a lot of good value with where he was picking at. I mean, his wide receivers are pretty absurd. You got Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, and Chris Goodwin.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for starting three, that's pretty absurd. And then his defense is not fun. He's got Michael Parsons, T.J. Watt, and well, I don't know who Jeremy Chin is, but
Jeremy Chin's a dog, actually.
But T.J. Watt and Michael Parsons, that's a solid starting. Minus his quarterback because Dak is trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said himself that he's not big on his quarterbacks. I mean, he likes CJ for young, but for like right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, his running backs have a lot of potential as well. It'll be interesting to see what Jamal Williams does down in New Orleans after a big year in Detroit last year. And then Antonio Gibson's usually good for fantasy.
Yeah, he robbed me of Sean Tucker, too. I like him for an undrafted free agent. That dude's a solid handcuff to my Rashad White, so he stole him from me. Literally the pick before I was going to take him.
I think he got one of the steals of the draft with Justin Ross.
Yes, I was going to highlight
I had him queued up in that round that I was going to take, and Nick got him right for me. So,
yeah. I thought about Ross, but he was I went McBride. Mainly because I have him on my other league, and I think he has a shot with Ertz being out to be a solid tight end. It's basically, unless you have Kelsey, you're just kind of trying to find a tight end.
Plug and play.
So. But Greg, did you have a high or low? Did you touch on that yet?
I do not have one. I was kind of curious to see what you guys were thinking. I kind of looking through now, but I don't have one.
For me, my low was John.
I had Nick as like a kind of like win now, and then I had like Marc as a win now and in the future, and then I had like I had a couple bad teams, but I'm gonna say them. Yeah, that was Paul.
Yeah, my low was John after Burrow. I like Burrow. I like Diggs. Henry's washed. Kittle's all right. Connor's all right, but he just doesn't really have much depth. I don't know if he knows Zeke's not on the team.
It's that your reach. It's that your reach that does that to you.
I can't hear you, Brandon. You're breaking up.
I said it's that Joe Burrow reach that does that to you.
Yeah. Oh,
Reach
yeah, the
for
reach.
quarterback.
I mean, I'm not going to blame anyone for taking their guy when they have a chance, but yeah, I would have went differently. But yeah, he just doesn't have much depth at running back. Because if Henry gets hurt, he's got Zeke?
Yeah, and Zach Moss.
And Travion Williams, who's already hurt. And then he cut 3 people instead of putting
wrong is Zach Moss already hurt.
What? Brandon, you're breaking up real bad. I don't know.
Good old Spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought he was saying something about Zach Moss, and Zach Moss is hurt and trash. So that is the answer to whatever question Zach Moss would be.
Yeah, I see him on his depth chart as a backup.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his actual draft here. But overall, I just think he's got a team that was trying to be built for win now, and will not do so.
I don't think MDOT had the best draft. He's got a couple good players. With the CMC, and then George Pickens is a dog, even though he is a Steeler.
Yeah.
Pat Freiermuth as well. He's a dog. He's got some solid linebackers, and his corner is really good. He has Anthony Richardson, so that should be interesting to play out. Like, looking at his bench, there's not too many solid plug-and-play players. Like, he is on a bye. It's going to really hurt him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was, like, drafting for the future or what he wanted to do with it, but it might be interesting. I mean, it could work out really well for him, but should be interesting. He does have my first-round pick in the next 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think he was going young. I think he was building for more of the future. Kind of talking to him.
I mean, I like some of his players for sure. He's got some dogs on his team, but then there's some questionable ones like Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we all got kind of a mixed bag. I don't know. Do you guys have a favorite to win now? You think anybody? I mean, other than yourselves?
I do.
Oh, good. Brandon's back. Good.
Yeah.
And I can hear you now.
Well, I exited off the laptop. I think that was the problem.
But go ahead, Brandon, with your win now.
Well, I got a couple teams right now. Actually, I have you as a young team, but pin to win immediate as like I don't see you being the best team in the league, but I see you having a chance to win some games and being a a really young team at the same time.
Yeah.
And I have Marc actually pegged to have like a really, really good season and still have a young team.
Yeah, I personally can agree with those.
Week 2, though, you're done.
Oh no, week 2 is definitely a win. I've already inked that one in.
I'm
I will
sure you.
not lose to Brandon Walters.
I can't wait to beat you after all the stuff you talked during the draft.
Well, it's gonna be funny because you're not gonna have a running back because Taylor's not gonna play. Javante's not gonna play. Dalvin Cook is not on a team. I don't know if you realize that.
Fonte playing in preseason.
Yeah, and he's gonna get hurt because he's soft like Charmin.
We'll see, man.
He's gonna stub his little baby toe and be out for another 2 years.
I will say I got a lot of risk players, but I got a lot of high reward players.
You definitely have risk. I can tell you that.
I do. I will say I like Marc's wide receivers to go back to good teams. By the way,
Yeah, Garrett, Debo.
yeah, I like Debo, Garrett, Smith, the Jigba. Looking good there, Marc.
Yeah, I like Hyatt and Reed too. Like the depth. I knew Marc would be a solid one because he's into college as well, so I knew he'd be solid on the young end. You know,
Right.
that's what's going to kill some people in the future. You NFL guys, Greg, is at some point you got to rebuild. Like at some point, unless or you can just keep trying to trade everything. But you're gonna have to be really trade savvy if you're not gonna ever go rebuild zone.
Right.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting. See how it goes in the next few years.
No. And it is kind of hard as I'm learning in the other league. Like, the first 2 rounds are worth it. The third round's kind of worth it in our league and, my other league. But this is a 14-man league, so it's going to be the top 3 or 4 third-round picks might be worth something. And after that, there's not it's lottery tickets.
Yeah, and since you brought that up, Brian, I'm kind of on a transition. If I'm not mistaken, Marc's the only one of us 4 that is not in Dynasty, right? Brandon, have you done Dynasty?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, Marc, I want to ask you, what do you think? Obviously, the season has not started. We've only gone through the draft process. What are your feelings on Dynasty? With you kind of hit on it earlier with drafting defensive players, but just the strategy, and obviously the first year the draft is super long. It won't be like that from here on out. Brian was hitting at it with the other league too, that from here on out we're drafting only rookies, and it's shorter. It's way less rounds than 33.
Yeah, we're doing 5 rounds, so
yeah. So it should fly.
My thought. I'm gonna get on the how long the draft was after this, but it took me off guard with how much thought you had to put into it, because if I'm going in a regular 10-man league that I do, I always try to go I pick like 2 or 3 rookies that I'm gonna go after for sure, that I know for a fact they're summer sleepers. Some people may not know them, take some chances on them, but you have to put a lot of thought into where you're drafting these players and hoping that they actually work out, instead of just taking, you're in a regular league, I'm gonna take, I get Kenneth Walker in the 9th round or Damian Pierce in the 7th. You have to really, really dive in and do your homework to actually see what you're taking, rather than looking back and saying, hey, I'm going to take a chance on this guy. It may or may not work out, because then you're stuck with them. So, you could take somebody that you thought was going to work out, and obviously you could draft them, but it could also really blow up in your face if you take them in a high round. So what I took from this first draft and doing Dynasty for the first time was you had to put a lot of thought into your draft and whether or not you want to win now or build for the future.
Agreed. Yeah, you don't want to be stuck in the middle. You don't want to, the worst part, I think, is being that team that almost makes the playoffs. You got the worst draft pick of the non-playoff teams, because I've had that before, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't make the playoffs, and I don't have a top 3 pick. So I'm just stuck in bullshit land,
Yeah.
So I had to go bold in my other league. Like I had drafted Javonte actually, and then I traded him maybe week 3 or 4 of the rookie year, and everybody's like, "Oh, dogging on me," and I was like, "Yeah, I could be wrong. He might turn out to be a dog, but I need more than just him, and I'm not, and I'm still that middle fucking team, like
Yeah.
I'm still that generally middle team, so I need to acquire other people's picks." So I did, and end up being the top 2 I got out of that was Olave and Brees Hall. So I kind of flipped him into, an equal, if not better, running back and a nice wide receiver. So
Yeah. So far, you're looking good with that, in my opinion.
yeah,
I like both those players a lot, Hall and Olave.
yeah, yeah. No, Andy stole Olave from me. I was hoping
I'm
to come
actually
back around
trying
the
to get
horn.
players in a trade right now.
What's that?
I'm actually trying to get Olave and Brees Hall in a trade right now.
Yeah. Good luck.
Hey, I'm trying. They told me, they said give them a day to think about it, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, that'd be nice. I like to see trades. Trades are fun. I know it's going to be hard for the big end ones because, everybody, sorry, everybody right now thinks they can win.
We talked
Yeah.
about, we talked about this.
So I think a lot of it, like, once we get to closer to mid-season, when people realize they're just not going to win it this year, especially the ones that built for win now, then they might be at least selling off some parts.
Mm-hmm.
It'll kind of be like real football, where some teams become buyers and others become sellers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like that trade deadline thing.
Yep.
So, Mark, did you want to talk about the length of the draft? Because I would also
Dude.
like to.
This draft, I get it was 33 rounds, but at one point, I really thought we were going to go into the next football season. Like,
Yeah.
I was waiting for Drake May and Caleb Williams to populate in the draft.
Yeah.
So long. And I get people have to work. I 100% understand that. But
Yeah.
good night. It doesn't take any more than 2 to 3 minutes to actually draft a pick.
Yeah. The ones that made me mad, I'm not going to call names out for them, is I was watching the iPad like live stream. So I see their motherfucking green dot pop up, and I'm like, oh, good, they're about to pick. Then the son of a bitch dot would go away. 7 hours later, they pick someone. I'm like, you were on. You knew you were on the clock. Fucking pick. Like, come on. Especially when we're getting towards the late rounds, I'm like, what are we doing? Now, one I will call it by name. It was just the one moment that really made me mad was so Antoine picked. Fred, within 30 seconds, made both of his picks. And this was after Antoine was on the clock for 8 hours already. Finally made his pick. I'm like, thank God. Fred was like, ding, ding. And then another 8 hours. I'm like, you're on the turn. You're on the turn. And Fred's been waiting on you for 8 hours. He knows who he's fucking picking. He was like, I mean, you could have closed the app fast enough. How quick Fred freaking drafted. I'm literally two picks under a minute. It was like ding ding, Antoine's on the clock, and then another 8 hours. I'm like, how? Like I just don't understand. And then John was the other one that was just forever long, and John would piss me off because I would Snapchat his bitch ass and say, "Hey, bro, you're on the clock." He'd open the shit and then not open the goddamn app. If you have time to open Snapchat, you have time to open the fucking app and draft somebody. Like, I noticed some bitch takes like 3 shits a day. Fucking get on the phone. Sorry, that's my rant, but it fired me up. I give everybody one. That's why I made it 24 hours. It's like you said, work, personal life, things come up. Like Greg had one. He's fucking around at a soccer game like a fool. But I gave him his one. After that, you were back to normal. Yes, I cussed you out in my head at the moment. I'm like, this dumb motherfucker going to a goddamn soccer game. But I gave you your one, Everybody had one. But it was like, some of them were taking like 3 or 4. I'm like, come on. What are we doing? Like, I'd be watching, because I watched Andy and I were also watching Green Dots on Facebook. So we'd whole ass see a motherfucker on Facebook 30 times a day. I'm like, if you can be on Facebook, you can be on the fucking app. Like, open the motherfucker.
I will say, I feel like the 24-hour thing backfired. I can't speak for you, Brian, but I wasn't thinking about the part where it could be used the full 24 hours. more
I
consistent?
thought about it, but I really, really thought that people were going to be responsible enough not to do that. Like, I really thought it wouldn't come to that. What's that, Brandon?
I tried my best.
No, you didn't do bad. Like, I mean, the only ones I considered going bad were the ones.
I watched it for 20 hours a day, and it wouldn't be my pick. And then for the 4 I didn't, it would be.
Yeah.
But
I mean, for me, I guess, and I didn't realize I could change the time limit until the very end when I did do it. I didn't realize that, like, mid-draft, I could change that shit. So there are things I would have done differently. First off, I probably would have just done it in 3 drafts rather than 1 long draft. I would have probably just did, hey, guys, we got to sit down on Tuesday. We're knocking out 11 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not going to take much longer than a regular redraft at that point because you usually get at least, 9, 10, 11 players in a redraft, right? So, I mean, at least. So I would have done it in probably 3 segments because I could have done that as well. And I did think about that way before, but I just, again, gave people the benefit of the doubt that we would move along pretty quickly. I really, in my head, I averaged it out. It's like, I bet we can knock out 4 rounds a day. In my head, that's, which would have gave us like a week and a half, we would have been done. Like 10 days and we would have been done at most. Really, the math comes to 8 days. But I was like, give you a buffer of 2 days of something goes horribly wrong. Right. So that's really in my head. I was like, we could easily knock out 4. All you got to do is sit,
I thought the weekends were going to be like boom, boom, boom.
They were worse. The weekends were worse. Like it'd be Monday morning, all of a sudden everybody's waking up picking, and I'm like, I'm trying to do work. I'm like, what? I'm trying to work? Like, I sat here all weekend waiting for you motherfuckers to pick.
Yeah, I had a couple of those where even when the very beginning of the draft, of course, I was busy at work. I'm like, of course, now I'm busy. And because all of a sudden the notifications are going off like, oh, man, the draft's going on and I can't even, do anything right now.
Yeah, no. And that's why I kind of started it during the week knowing it might be slow. But first round actually was the round that went pretty well.
Yeah.
And then maybe even halfway through the second. But then once we got halfway through the second and we got to afternoon on day 1, it kind of just
went downhill.
Yeah, immediately went downhill for the rest of my life. So, I mean, there was a point I almost shut the league down. I was like, we're done. I'm over it. I'm like, I'm just shutting the whole fucking thing down, dude.
Well, luckily you made it through the hard part then.
Yeah. But no, like I said, there's things I would have done differently. If I'd have known I could have, tapered off the rounds, I probably would announce that. We probably would have done 24 hours for the first, I don't know, 5, 10 rounds or something, just because that's the most important picks. And then I'm going to cut it. I was just afraid to do 10 or 12 hours because, I mean, people could sleep that much. If Brandon's up at midnight, does a pick, but then I sleep in till fucking 10, 11 a.m., I've missed my pick because I was fucking sleeping, so I was trying to prevent that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure of all those rounds, there were times where I woke up and it was my turn.
Yeah.
For my cases, I fall asleep earlier than probably.
Yeah. No, I'm an early sleeper too. So fortunately for me, Nick saved me from being on the clock a lot because he took forever. So,
yeah.
And I was on him like a dog. So honestly, I think he would have been a big offender if it wasn't for the fact he was right next to me on the draft. And I was like, hey, you better motherfucking pick because I'm up next. So.
Brian me every time. Brian texts me and I'm like, I'm picking right now.
Yeah. I was trying to not be pushy. I do want to say that to everyone. I was trying not to be pushy, but I also want to go.
I didn't care at all.
No.
As soon as I seen your text, I hopped on the app and picked my person.
But so, any other things we want to touch on from the first draft?
Nothing besides I'm beating all of you guys.
That's a hard pass.
He's looking at 0-3 against us.
I know. I will say that I'm interested in the scheduling because I think Marc's the one I played twice this year. If I looked at it correctly, there was one. Everybody plays one person twice, I think.
Brian, can you edit standings? Can you edit those?
Edit the standings?
I didn't know if you want to put an U for 0-2 already.
Get out of here. I can edit your roster, motherfuckers. What I can do. I'll edit Jackson Smith and Jigba right onto my fucking team. Keep
Yeah,
talking
Marc,
shit.
I'll say you got a shot, but Brian and Greg don't got no shot.
Oh, whatever.
Get out of here.
Who's on your team again?
Nobody's gonna play.
Yeah, Tua's gonna be out by then. Jonathan Taylor, he's not happy.
Yeah.
Andy's hurt.
CeeDee Lamb's a Cowboy. Enough said.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk might do something. I hope Irv Smith does because he's a Bengal. I'm gonna put the Bengals above my fantasy team. Sorry, but that's the reality. I want a ring before I die. Okay. Yeah, I'm not worried about you, Brandon. Yeah, I like Aiden Hutchinson. Not to get back on defense, but
Brian hates that pick.
does he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why the fuck would you pick a guy from TTUN, dude? Come on.
I'll say, is it because of college affiliation?
Hey Brian, I went Chase Young after that.
Yeah, I mean you're trying to make up for it.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Hey, if we go by Brian's terms, Chase Young's way more valuable than Joe Burrow. Look at my text from like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
There, as of right now, both got the same amount of rings. Is all I know.
Hey, it's a steal.
And just about the same amount of injuries. So, and I didn't say just Chase Young. I also threw in we could have had Trevor Lawrence. So I always want to make that because everybody just says, "Oh, you said Chase Young." No, I said we could have had him and a quarterback, 2 for 1.
I'm all right with our team. How about you
No,
guys?
I am too now. I'm just saying, like, honestly, I'd have been less all right with our team if Burrow would have not got hurt year 1, because then we wouldn't have had Jamar Chase. So then our team would have looked vastly different, and I probably would have been right. Because we would have had shit.
Well, I'm sure you can agree with us on this one, Brian. You're probably glad you're not right.
Oh yeah, I never wanted to be right.
Yeah,
I was just.
I actually plan on my team looking different before I start the season, though.
Well, did you expect them to be good?
Yeah, they're never going to look good, Brandon. I mean, they're going to look different because you're going to need like 8 IR slots.
We'll see.
You pick the all medical team.
We'll see. On the next podcast, we'll see.
Oh yeah, well no, we might do it. Yeah. No, you're going to be so bad. I think long term you're going to be bad. I think by like year 3 you're going to be like, bro, I think I want to quit this league. It's just not working out. It's kind of boring. Like you can start pointing fingers at the league. I'm like, nah, dude, you just trash. Like you just trash. You're an Oregon fan, so you're not going to know how to draft out of college. Just because you watch college don't mean you know how to draft out of it. You're fucking Oregon fan. We threw you a life raft, the Big Ten, and say, hey, come on over, little buddy. You can go play Maryland.
I think
go have a little rivalry with Maryland, a little East Coast, West Coast. You can be the bottom feeder. You can be our Vanderbilt. Go ahead.
I actually went for a
little
lot
buddy.
of state players this draft, but I didn't get them.
Excuses. I don't, and make trades, draft trades. Nobody traded in the draft at all. I was dying to trade during the draft.
I tried.
You didn't try with the right people because I would have traded you like immediately.
I'm trying to trade right now.
You don't have trade assets now. You have a trash team.
Neither do you. You haven't traded one person yet. You don't have anybody besides Jamar Chase.
It's not my fault that no one wants Jamar. What the fuck? I don't.
And if I had 4th pick, I would do it too.
I have an amazing team.
Jameer Gibbs. Can we make week 2 just a rivalry for you two already?
Yeah, let's do it.
We can.
I mean,
it's not much of a rivalry when I smack him every year,
We'll see.
Oh no, we're gonna see. Yeah.
Week 2, I would probably bet my fantasy winnings I beat you by 30.
You ain't gonna have any fantasy winnings. I bet your fantasy winnings too. Your fantasy winnings gonna be 0. Shit. It's a pretty good bet for you. No chance.
I do like St. Brown, by the way, Brian, on your team.
Yeah,
I do.
Rob, dog.
Yep.
Jerry Judy, dog. Hawkinson, dog.
Jerry Judy.
Gordon Addison,
Come
dog.
on. Jerry Judy.
Matt Gay.
I hope
dog.
you start Addison over Jerry Judy.
I'm starting them both because they're both dogs.
The problem you have with Jerry Judy isn't Jerry Judy. It's Russell Wilson if he plays like last year.
Nah, he won't do. He's got Sean Payton. Sean Payton's going to steroid up his arm for him and shit.
That's going to be interesting to see how they play together.
So.
Let's ride, right?
No, actually, I talk shit. Judy might not actually start week 1.
I know he's not.
Honestly, it's him or Khalil Herbert. Because it's gonna be a
Hey,
flex thing.
you're
I'd put Judy
playing
over
Marc, right?
Herbert.
Yeah.
So 0-2 is fine with me.
0-2.
Yeah.
Who the fuck's losing to Mark?
You.
We've already established Mark sucks at life.
Throttle you.
Hey, I'm down with a weekly recap. So once I beat every one of you guys, we're back on here and I'm talking about it.
Oh yeah, no, we'll definitely do a weekly recap. But
Just not
I don't know
you
how
beating-
long we've been going on this episode. I don't know where my timer went.
Hey, it went long enough for me to start talking trash. So
Yeah, I don't see a timer, by the way.
it's not even recording anymore.
Oh, it's recording. It says it is at least.
Yeah, it says
Come
it
on.
is.
Just talking.
So
My brother messed up a couple of my picks. He took my first round pick for sure.
No,
yeah.
shut up. You drafted all them Ohio State players. I was trying to do that because everybody knows I don't like Ohio State. So I was trying to sneak, and you did it, you dick.
Mhm.
Hey, I needed some wide receivers.
I guess we could have the sibling rivalries too.
Guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I thought about that. I kind of wrote a list out. I don't have it on me, but I was going to do the brothers as a rivalry week, as at least one of the rivals for the week.
That'd be cool.
John, Greg, Mark, Matt. See who's
Hopefully, we
gonna
don't play
win
each
that.
other the same week.
But I think some rivalries will form too.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like week 8's me and M Dot because that's the old school.
That's my
I
favorite.
wish I had my list, but I kind of just scratched out of who people I think would match up well with rivalry wise, I guess you should say.
Yeah,
But we're gonna have some people in the league just don't talk as much trash. Also,
I'm gonna talk shit every week, but the thing about it is, I really don't care if I go 0-16.
oh yeah,
because
that's clear by how you drafted, so I do understand that. But I feel like Nick Tuckfarber, for example, he's gonna be too soft to talk trash. He's gonna have his tail between his legs like a little scared dog. He's not gonna he don't want to talk shit to strangers. He might talk a little bit to me, but he ain't gonna talk shit to strangers because he's scared. That's one thing I can say about Andy. That dude's gonna talk shit to every one of y'all. He don't give a fuck. He don't give a fuck. That's why he's in the league. He don't give a shit who the fuck you are. He's gonna talk shit. So that's gonna be fun. He'll be somebody's rivalry because he's gonna piss people off.
Yeah, I can see that.
What was his team?
He's the Bijan team.
Bijan team?
Yeah.
Infinity and Bijan.
Does he know Josh Jacobs is upset? He doesn't want to play right now.
Yeah, but that's why he handcuffs Zamir White. If you notice, his running backs are all handcuffed to the proper handcuff.
I would say I hate to
Team
admit
is
it,
still
but Andy's
trash, though.
probably the most seasoned dynasty player we have.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the commissioner of the other league I'm in.
Yep.
I have him as a bad team this year.
But I don't think he'll be bad.
I don't think it'll be bad, but
Unless he trades Olave. If he trades Olave, then he's going to be trash.
I'll say that on the pod.
He don't say that shit.
I do like Jahad Dotson. I like that.
But no, he's got good handcuffs. But, all right, I guess we'll stop recording and then we can kind of talk a little bit.